Hey yo guys, how's it going? Have you ever thought about coming to live in Japan? Well, this video is for you. Currently I have about 2 years living here, but to be honest, I actually been here in Japan for more than 6 times already, and a lot of my stay has been like very, how can you say, like unusual, right? Starting from, coming to a Japanese school, to just coming to an internship in Japan, to returning to do a Japanese school, to, well, currently being what is considered a salaryman. So yes, I'm working in Japan right now. The thing that has always been in my head is why so many people want to come to this country, right? And more than anything is, why do they always ask you, why are you in Japan? The answer might just be logical, right? Or some people, maybe they want to learn about the country, they want to experience it more. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that I don't think I have to name, because we all love anime. But in a serious note, the reality is that there's something that brought a lot of people like me, and like probably you at some point, to this country. And even if you're not interested in living in Japan, I think I want you to just stay into this video because I want you to hear this viewpoint. Maybe a lot of you have heard about Japanese asking you all the time, why are you in Japan? And another one, which is, when are you going back to your country? It's a fair enough question, as the more I think about it, the more I think that it really is rough to keep living in Japan for really long term. I mean, think about it. A lot of people don't have families right here. Sure, we have friends, but at some point, like, a lot of them might be going back home already. It just seems like a cycle where you meet someone, maybe at school, and then 2 years later, they probably are going back home because just things didn't work. Or another one where you actually make friends, but they end up going to somewhere, a different place here in Japan. Either that or they get married and you never see them as often as you did. Sure, that's life, alright. What else? I think another one that's very popular that you have heard about it is foreigners just not really making a lot of friends with Japanese people. I think this is a reality, right, where it is true that I think making an actual friendship with Japanese can be a little bit more tricky. I'm not saying that that cannot happen, it's just like it's difficult, especially depending which kind of person you are and what are your expectations with a friendship, really. But the most important question about this thing really is, why are you in Japan? Like, for reals. And this is something that if you're already living here, I want you to tell me, like, why are you here, and are you really thinking about the future, or are you just taking it one day at a time? And if you want to come here, obviously you probably have a goal, but at the same time, what is your long-term goal? And do you really see this country as something that you must need to be at on your long term? This is a very important question, thinking long term about Japan and if you really want to be in Japan. Because I think that for a lot of people, really, if Japan is just not on the equation, right, of you, that you must be here in Japan, or that there's something that you have to be in this country, then a lot of the times it's just not going to work. There's just going to be something that when things get hard, you're just going to be back home. I'm not saying this is necessarily bad. Maybe you found that you just didn't like it, but maybe that's part of it. The thing is, when you like something a lot and when you have a goal into mind, no matter how difficult it is, I think you just keep persevering until you get to that goal, right? Because let's be honest, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be very, very rough, especially when you are in a totally different country living by yourself and how everything seems against you. Yet when that thing that you are purchasing is in that place that you can only be, you just have to norikoi the shit out of it. Okay, let me just put another more simple example so you can maybe understand. In my situation, at the very least, I've lived in different countries, right? I was born in Mexico, obviously raised in Mexico. I got to live in the Netherlands, and listen, for all the part that I've been living in those countries, I can tell you I have made my friends. Obviously the Netherlands is a very safe country, right? The reality is, well, there was nothing that was really keeping me motivated to be there. I had to turn the aircon, it's so hot. The reality is, the more I look into, maybe having a stable life in the Netherlands, the more I would think like, okay, sure, it can be stable, I can have like maybe a good salary, wherever, be in a country that's not bad to live in, honestly. But the thing is, like, there was nothing, there was no ambition to me being there because I was not passionate about anything. I didn't have the ambition to learn the language, I didn't have any interest. Whereas Japan, like, the more I think about it, it was a country that I wanted to, show the beauty of it. You know, obviously I've met a lot of beautiful people through this country, right? A lot of people have helped me, and obviously I'm very passionate about traveling to places here, and you know, just making content about it, and maybe in the future being able to put a business about it. It just felt like I had to be here. Sure, I had to sacrifice a lot. Obviously my family is the number one that, you know, think about it, you know, pretty often, even though it doesn't seem like it. But I think, you know, how I could just be back home with my grandparents, you know, enjoy the time with them, with my own family. But at the same time, it's just something that if I stay in Mexico, I'm just not gonna be happy about it, because there's not gonna be anything that's gonna be like pulling me towards maybe striving for better. How did I come to realize this though? Was through the hard ways. And what do I mean is, like, literally when I had to leave Japan, I had an unusual experience, like, you know, being in and out of Japan. The thing is, like, I always find myself being a time limit in Japan, right? And when I was in countries that I just didn't want it to be, in places that I just didn't have any interest in being, I feel like I was just wasting my time. At the end of the day, it was just something that I really tried to work for it. I tried to improve my Japanese as much as I could, and I think that's gonna be another story, right? But the reality is, I think the more that, you know, things just seem to be there, but you have to work hard to get them, the more satisfying it is. The message I want to give you is, if you're coming to Japan, or if you're planning on living in Japan, first make yourself this question: why do you have to be in Japan, right? Is it just gonna be because you want to experience the country, because you're lost in life perhaps, you just want to learn Japanese, or are you expecting to change your world just by moving magically to another country? I'm not saying these are bad choices, I'm not saying you don't have to feel like this. It's easy to think that if you change countries and start all over, your life could just be better or somehow improve. That's definitely not something that I want you to, you know, be thinking right now. It is possible. I'm not saying that that is something that cannot happen. To be honest, it was what I did as well, right? Just restarting all over. But I think it really depends on the situation. If you don't have any game plan, you just go because you think it will, you probably are gonna end up in having a bad experience. So first of all, with learning Japanese, what is your ambition with learning Japanese, right? Second of all, with coming to Japan, what is your ambition with coming to Japan? You just want to enjoy the country? Maybe you should just be thinking about more of a short-term thing. Of course, if you really enjoy it and, you know, you keep building into it, of course thinking long-term is not out of the question, but you have to think of something that's gonna keep you grasped to that thing. Pretty much think about this as if you were gonna get married with Japan. It sounds absurd, but just see it as a marriage. A marriage, maybe it's gonna have its honeymoon, right? Where it's just gonna feel like it's amazing, you know, you fell in love with the country, with that person, right? In this example, you know, it's like that partner that it's everything that you ever wanted, that makes you happy, and, you know, it just feels so magical. You know, first time that you have it, nothing else is just gonna break you for that moment, right? But at some point, like any other marriage, things are gonna get fucked up, because you're gonna be probably living with each other every day. In this example, you're gonna be obviously living in Japan every day, and the things that excited you, like from the most absurd things, like a fucking sandwich from the convenience store, will suddenly become as, well, this shit is just boring now. Same as a marriage, where things get routinary, where things get boring. What's the next thing that you're gonna do? You can either blame it on your partner, that this is their fault. In this case, you can blame it on Japan, that it's Japan that changed, or it's Japan the one that's having all the fault. Or you could just take it on both sides. Obviously, recognizing that the country is just like any other country that will have its good and its bad, as well as you, that obviously there's gonna be some things that you're gonna have to also put into this, right? You're gonna have to put effort. Obviously, I'm not saying that you just, you know, have to take it all in, you know, you don't have to take all the punishment on this one, all the blame, but at the same time, you're gonna have to put the effort into it. That applies to any other country, that applies to any other place that you may want to be living at. The honeymoon phase is awesome, trust me. I had my honeymoon phase, I really did, where I would get excited just because I saw a fucking Fanta, you know, a great Fanta, to the point where I'm just like, holy shit, what is this shit? I would get excited by just looking at this, like, oh my god, Kieran, he has a fucking sports drink, oh my. 2. Nah, it's made. It's inevitable, and as much as you love the country, even for me, there's times where I just feel exhausted about it. I just feel exhausted of talking Japanese even though I love the language. I feel exhausted of just the same things that I see. The thing is, the more I think about it, if I go back to Mexico, if I go back to any other country, then suddenly I realize that all my effort that I had onto this thing is gone. Most importantly is that when I see myself not being here, I just feel like that motivation, all that thing that I was working towards is gone. And then maybe things get easier. I'm not saying that it wouldn't get easier, but it just feels like, why am I even bothering with this? Like, because that was not my ambition anymore. I'm saying that a change is necessarily a bad thing, but it's like when times get rough, just like a marriage is on to you, of course, and your partner as well. But to try to maybe fix it as well as just try to get along with it. Now, I don't have any experience with marriages, so just kind of bear with me with this example, alright? Thing is, a lot of things are gonna be going wrong during your stay as well. Even through the little things like this, the deodorant, like, you're gonna find good deodorant. If you do, it's fucking expensive, bro. It is expensive. But you can always look at the good things as well, not just center on the negatives. You can also just focus on the good things, just as, hey, I cannot think of many other countries where I could just go out there at night, just, go to any convenience store, get food that's readily available, walk anywhere I want, feeling safe, and just having the convenience that this country has. You always have to look at those positive things, which they become routinely and just like something that you just kind of learn to live with them, that you kind of like forget about them. But when you remember them, those are the things that maybe brought you here in the first place. At the end of the day, again, going to the marriage example, it's not the worst thing to just break if you just think you had enough, if you are just not enjoying it. Maybe your goals change, people change. I don't know what's gonna be with me. Obviously it's still very early on my thing, in my travel, but what I can tell people from my experience is that I had to wait so long to be here, and now that I'm here, obviously I come to the point where maybe I'm starting to get out of that honeymoon phase. I'm having to face, the more realistic side of living in Japan, but at the same time, my goals are as strong as they ever been. I still need to be in this country to do what I've been trying to do in this country. Maybe this is something you should think, and I want you to think it, just because I don't want you to come into any other place. Doesn't have to be here, right? I want you to just have expectations, whether you just want to maybe have an experience of your lifetime. That's also great. If you just want to have a short experience, bro, come here, you will enjoy it. At the same time, I want you to be realistic. If you ever feel yourself in the position of whether you should continue here or not, maybe look at what this country will bring to you. At the end of the day, sometimes what really is gonna pull you through is gonna be the people that you also meet here. A lot of the times you're gonna have to put that effort as well, my friends. So you have to go out there, keep meeting people when times seem rough, find yourself a hobby, find yourself something that this country can provide you. Just find something, right? Just try to find a common interest thing where maybe you can meet people who think the same as you. Listen, maybe I'm not saying it's gonna happen overnight, but I think if you eventually do, eventually you will plan with someone. Eventually a community might plan with you. Eventually you will find something. If it was just never meant to be, it was just never meant to be. I'm trying to ruin your experience, but anyways, this is just trying to be realistic over the illusion that a lot of people may have coming to this country, that this is a perfect place where they can escape everything, which is not. The honeymoon phase towards things get boring, things get bland, and now you have to find a way to keep on living. It's just as easy as planning your goals, working hard, and trying to adapt for this country as well, because unfortunately Japan is not going to be a waifu that's going to change for you. This holds very true. Japan is not going to be changing foreigners, probably. So but hey, there's also that thing that also ties us here, ain't it? there's this community with foreigners. I think that we are all into this, and we're all in this boat. So I think that's part of the magic, really. Like, it just feels like it's like us against them, and not necessarily thinking of making that distinction, right, with Japanese versus us. But at the very least, it gives you like that thing where it's kind of like you have a common thing. At the end of the day, we all come here because we have a dream. We have ambitions that are stronger, or reasons that really keeps us in here, and that's why we're here. Other persons, well, probably they ended up, maybe having a family here, or just getting a job, and not necessarily like they enjoy it, but they're just here. Whatever the reason is, I just think it's nice to have a goal and to think well about it, and to not build yourself expectations that just restarting your life like a fucking isekai will change everything. Moreover, that Japan is gonna change you over. Maybe video games, anime are nice, but at the end of the day, they're stories, and we watch them because they take us to an ideal reality. Anyways, I hope I didn't take you down, honestly. This country is beautiful. There's a lot of things. Obviously, I wouldn't be trying to live here if it wasn't that beautiful, right? But anyways, I do hope that you guys take this advice. I think that it's something that, hopefully you can see me through my journey as well, and who knows, maybe I'll have a different opinion in a couple of years. And other than that, I appreciate your time. It was nice to talk with you all, guys. If you have any comments, you can also put them down below. Always open for video ideas. No further to say, I just have to take my sports drink because I love sports and Kieran loves sports. Yeah, it's whatever. It's just sports drink. It's a sports drink in Japan, so heck yeah. Alright, see you guys. Please subscribe, please follow me. All that effort is appreciated. Anyways, guys, I'm about to do my night routine. Actually, no, I'm just in a small ass hotel. We get amenities, so I don't know. I just kind of saw like this face mask, to make my skin beautiful. So will I make the outro? I don't know. Let's try it. It's wet. Alright, guys. Oh. Subscribe. Damn. It's literally, well, it's so wet, man. Fantasmas. See you in the next one. Is this good content? I don't think so. See you.